Trump would create free, freedom-focused online American Academy as president, and he'd make the woke IVs pay for it. It will be strictly non-political, and there will be no wokeness or jihadism allowed. I see a lot of people cheering for this, but I'm going to be completely honest. This is a stupid idea. Sorry, it just is. Let me play the video for you.
In recent weeks, Americans have been horrified to see students and faculty at Harvard and other once respected universities expressing support for the savages and jihadists who attacked Israel. We spend more money on higher education than any other country, and yet they're turning our students into communists and terrorists and sympathizers of many, many different dimensions. We can't let this happen. It's time to offer something dramatically different. Under the plan I'm announcing today, we will take the billions and billions of dollars that we will collect by taxing, fining, and suing excessively large private university endowments, and we will then use that money to endow a new institution called the American Academy. Its mission will be to make a truly world-class education available to every American, free of charge, and do it without adding a single dime to the federal debt. This institution will gather an entire universe of the highest quality educational content covering the full spectrum of human knowledge and skills, and make that material available to every American citizen online for free. Whether you want lectures or ancient histories or an introduction to financial accounting or training in a skilled trade, the goal will be to deliver it and get it done properly. Using study groups, mentors, industry partnerships, and the latest breakthrough in computing, this will be a truly top-tier education option for the people. It will be strictly non-political, and there will be no wokeness or jihadism allowed. None of that's going to be allowed. Most importantly, the American Academy will compete directly with the existing and very costly four-year university system by granting students degree credentials that the U.S. government and all federal contractors will henceforth recognize. The Academy will award the full and complete equivalent of a bachelor's degree. In addition, to help the 40 million Americans who have some college education but no degree, the American Academy will grant credit for past coursework at legacy institutions and give you the chance to complete your education at the American Academy for free and much more quickly than is now possible or available. This will be a revolution in higher education and will provide life-changing opportunities for tens of millions of our citizens. Enjoy it, learn from it, and thank you.
I just want to say real quick, the most important thing here is room tone, guys. When you're shooting these videos, you need to record about 30 seconds of what's called room tone silence so that you can mask the jump cuts. But anyway, what were you saying?
Is this like a GED but for a bachelor's degree instead of high school diploma?
And I think, look, I can respect the colleges are garbage. They're making kids communists, but the government making another program is not the solution.
Yeah, this is the same dilemma you had when you were talking about the central bank digital currencies, except with education. It's the same exact thing.
Oh, the government's going to swoop in and create government college for you. Don't worry, Trump says it won't be woke. No way. He'll get out of office, and then some crackpot woke person will bang the gavel, and it'll turn into woke you.
Yeah.
And then the government's funded it. It can never die, can never go away. No.
He likes to say that everything woke turns to shit, but really it's everything the government touches turns to shit.
It's
also
the government touches, puts the woke in it.
Yeah.
He's saying, I want people to have opportunities to get whatever, but why don't we just stop giving out student loans? I feel like that's the thing that I'm more interested in seeing, right?
Stop
I mean, there are
going
tons
to
of
college.
We'll stop subsidizing the whole system
right.
entirely.
It doesn't make, you could solve a lot of issues that way. In fact, you could make college affordable.
I do love how he
probably
came
by
out with
kids
his own right-wing version of free college for all, though. That's hilarious.
No.
And if he fails at president, we'll definitely see the ads on Facebook where he's like, give us your email address and we'll send you an email.
Subsidize
this for free.
Subsidizing college was one of the biggest mistakes our society ever made.
Yes.
Because what happens now is young person says, oh, I can get a loan to go to college. I'll learn, I'll take something. I don't even know. Most kids don't even know what their major is going to be. I don't even know what my major is going to be. Then why are you going? So they go thinking they're going to get a job. That kid, that 17-year-old, I say kid because they're 17, they're planning college. They turn 18, they go to college. If they just went and got a job working at their local, with a handyman.
Sure.
Local mechanic, engineer, electrician, they said, I'm just going to go for work, heating and air conditioning. they'd learn real skills that translate. They'd have an actual job, and then they can figure things out as they're getting older, or they can work these skills. And maybe, I don't know, being an electrician is a great skill to have, and they could have learned that. They didn't have to go to college. They go to trade school or something. Instead, they graduate 4 years later and go, oops.
You know what's a better idea than going to Trump's America School? It's just running for your local school board and changing the school district in your own locality. Literally, it's going to be just as easy. And you could change everything.
If they never subsidized college, young people would not have gone and wasted their time generating debt and then learning nothing. No. There are so what happens is, I read this great article. This is when I was a kid. They said you need an IQ of at least 110 to go to college, and the problem is subsidized universities is telling everyone of any capability to go to college. You end up with people who are not bright enough, who can't understand the material. I think we were talking about this the other day, like college was supposed to be, you sat down and experimented and worked with like-minded individuals and you wrote a thesis. You were saying this. And now it's gen ed. Now it's like, here's your homework, come back.
Yeah, it's like being in high school. I mean, and this is also different than, let's say, like the British system, right? Like in the equivalency of high school in England, you are already narrowing down what you want to study. In America, we keep students taking everything for as long as possible. And now that basically lasts until they're, if you enroll in college at 18, that's the first 2 years of college. So when you're 20, you are still taking general classes instead of specializing in a skill.
Yeah, but the longer you're in, the more money you owe the government.
Exactly. That's the thing about subsidizing is that you were able to say to colleges, name your price and we will write a blank check and we will force them to agree to take it. That's crazy. That also means that there's no incentive for colleges to say, hey, we're going to make this quick and efficient for you. There are schools that will say, oh, well, we're revamping our general ed criteria. So actually you can't graduate unless you take, summer courses, which cost additional money, or you spend an extra year here. They're trying to make it last as long as possible because they don't care that you're going into debt. And in fact, while I was sitting here, my college called me to try and get a donation. This is just, that you will always be a meal ticket for them. And I think it's sad because there are probably professors who are really dedicated to things that they're interested in. There are students who are genuinely interested in learning.
Yeah, but it's the administration.
Well, and also if we did not have college, would you have, people who spend money buying tickets to lectures instead? Like right now we trap all of learning in college when it doesn't have to be that way.
You got Khan Academy.
You can do all kinds of things. You can get free lectures online as it is. I don't know why we need American Academy, except for the fact that now they're saying you could potentially get the equivalency of a GED, but for your bachelor's. So if you've gotten some college somewhere, but also to what end? If you've been able to find a good job after having left college, why would you then go back and get a degree, except for wanting to seem sort of elite and good? I don't really get what the benefit of this is.
I like that he said you could rush through. So kids that are really smart and they want to work 10 hours a day can get their degree in a year.
You can do that with dual enrollment programs while you're in high school. I've known kids who graduate high school with their AA degree if they're getting dual enrollment during college credit, like through their local community college. There are tons of ways to go through college faster. I think we don't talk about them because ultimately everyone wants you on this pipeline where you go into debt.
Yeah, but you're talking about things that don't need college. For things where you need to get a degree, like being a doctor, for instance, you're not going to do it online. You have to go and do medical practice and rounds. You have to learn how to actually save lives.
You should be able to do it online, though.
Medical work?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Because you got to learn how to tie arteries.
Would you go to a doctor that got his education online?
No.
Of course not. So, of course not. Nobody would. This is the information age. We know where somebody went to school.
So you think the average person would then, it's the responsibility of the individual to check onto the practice and the degree.
You take all.
I don't disagree.
You could learn a lot of the information, the book information online, but then you do need to go practice.
You gotta have labs.
If you're I had a friend in high school who put himself through college while working as a paramedic all 4 years, or first time, I can't remember, an EMT. If he wanted to be a doctor, shouldn't he automatically get real world credit? He shouldn't have to take certain classes because he has the practical skills. I get that eventually maybe he has to go to medical school.
There's a big difference between an EMT and a doctor, by the way.
But at the same time, he's had more hands-on experience than anyone who just took a biology class, right? There should be some recognition of real world skill.
I think if you're good at it and it took you 2 years to become an expert doctor, I'd rather have you than a guy who was 12 years in school and doesn't know what he's doing. I really don't care about how long it takes.
That's why there are standardized tests that all of them go through to say, yes, I am now a good doctor. I am qualified to be a good doctor.
When I say I want the government out of education, I don't just mean my kids' education. I mean all education entirely.
That's why I'm
never should have been involved in education.
Trump saying free university it's exactly what he's trying to do.
It's terrible.
But there's something you don't want one school teaching that 2 + 2 = 5 and another school teaching that it equals 4. You got to have some government oversight. because then everyone will be
Would you
confused
put your
and
kid
argue and go
would
to
you
war.
put your kid in the school that teaches 2 + 2 = 5? If there was,
I wouldn't, but if my parents thought it equaled 5, they probably would have put me in that school.
Yeah, well,
And then so we have a federal government that's like, no, we're going to have some standardization.
it's terrible. Kids aren't standardized at all.
Well, some of it,
You ever been around children?
yeah.
They're all different. Everyone.
Yeah, but if they were being taught that words meant different things, that would be a big problem. So we need some standardization. Otherwise, we'd go to war.
We need that standardization only because parents have become entirely disinterested with their children's education. That's the only problem.
They're disinterested in their kids.
Yeah, entirely.
But also, if a private schools wanted to tweak kids and there was no government oversight, they could like make little terrorists or make people think the wrong thing slightly.
like
and you-
The government is doing this now in a bunch of states.
well, that's a problem. But
It is.
you
the
can see that it's
government
way
is the
too
biggest
involved.
purveyor of what you're talking about.
I think the government's
right now.
too involved, but I don't think no government in education.
There should be no
would be a
government
good
in
thing.
education at all. 100%. As there used to be no government in education, and kids could go to their local schools. They could go to any school they wanted to. They learned all the things that helped build this country without the government nanny state telling them what they had to do in education.
What year?
Oh, I don't know.
The majority of this
the
country-
federal government got involved in the 70s, but the states have been involved for quite some time. But prior to that, the state governments weren't involved in education.
Do you know when they
were
started getting
No,
involved?
I don't know.
1980.
exactly.
DOE.
That's the Department of Education.
That thing I could do.
That's the
I'd be
federal.
happy
But
to do it.
there's been state involvement in schools much longer than that, but not that much longer than that.
1867 was the Office of Education.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably because the Civil War happened, and they were like, we can't let that happen again. We need to teach these people the same thing.
I don't know. I think just ultimately the government doesn't want you to have an independent life outside of its purview, right? And so maybe it was a civil war, but ultimately, as soon as they started saying, hey, it turns out we can have a say in your domestic life if we mandate that your children go to school, right? There has always been a tendency toward creeping reach into influence. And I think the issue is ultimately that the government doesn't know better than parents. I could get the argument that you want to say that information is standardized, but knowing that 2 + 2 = 4 is basic logic. I mean, that's irrefutable.
I live in Iowa. It's like one of the most free education states in the country. I mean, as far as education freedom goes, you can homeschool your children and you don't have to tell the government anything at all. You can just petition your local school district when they're 18 and you think they've gone far enough to get them their diploma. So like, do you think the government should come in and tell us we can't homeschool our kids anymore the way that we are?
I don't know. It depends on what you're teaching them, I guess.
Why?
Because if you're teaching them that killing is good, that's a big problem.
Okay,
When
well-
murder's good, that would be a big
So
problem.
Sure.
The
Murder is illegal.
the best
And so if my
argument-
kids kill somebody, they're going to get arrested. That's already illegal.
But if like a state was teaching their kids like it's okay to steal this, like
Well,
there
you
are
just said
some laws.
you just said a state though. That's a government.
Yeah, if there were children within a state all being self-schooled to think that things that were legal, like you need some oversight of some structure.
We don't have any in Iowa at all. Everybody's just fine.
Some of the only compelling argument I've ever heard for having, minimal government involvement with homeschooling, and because, Iowa doesn't have any, but some states have more than others. So you can look these up online. There'll be, blogs or whatever that rate it. Like New York State has high regulation. It's very difficult to homeschool in New York. West Virginia is sort of middle tier. And one of the things that comes up when you regulate with homeschooling or when you enroll in homeschooling is some states require you to do a certain number of standardized tests to prove that your kid is learning or meeting certain criteria, or you have to submit your curriculum. Some state governments require that.
I contend that putting the government into education has had a huge
The only
hand
time
in
I've
tearing
ever
up the-
heard anyone make a compelling argument was this one social worker who said, the thing is, I just wouldn't want a student to not be enrolled in any school and for us to never know what happened to them. Sure. And I find that interesting because they're making a direct like child welfare argument, right? Like if a kid is in a domestically violent home, if they just get lifted out of the system, if they never go to school, you wonder what happened. And you do hear cases like that. But to me, that speaks to the fact that we don't have strong communities around them that would let children just fall off the map.
Yep.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.